Great. Well, welcome today to this Thrive Masterclass, Unearth Your Power to Thrive. I am Jane Baldwin. I'm a breathwork and meditation coach, and I help people discover those extraordinary parts of themselves that have been lost or forgotten. I'm the creator of the Unwinding Compass, a simple yet powerful way to unwind from all the things, whatever it is for you. And you'll be learning that today, just a simple way to use it. And we'll be going through some practices of it. And I'm also a former Maya archaeologist. So that is where my expertise and background come from, discovering and exploring lost treasures and gifts. And now I take that skill and I help you, and I help people discover those gifts. So welcome. If you're live, we got a Power Pack Masterclass today happening. So if you're watching the replay, also welcome. And I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm excited for you to be here and for our time today. So here's the plan for the hour. First, if you're live, I invite you to use the chat. I've muted participants, but I'll be glancing over at the chat. So drop any comments that you have in there. And then I just want to take a couple of minutes and go through an overview. So what I'm going to teach you today is going to impact your everyday well-being, like the quality of your sleep, how you show up for your day. It's going to impact what you think about during the day. And it's even going to affect the choices you make. And it's going to give you agency over how you feel so that your emotions aren't dragging you around and you're in the driver's seat. Like whenever you're choosing your thoughts and feelings, you're in the driver's seat and making choices from this aligned and purposeful place. And this is something that I teach my one-on-one clients, and I rarely share like this level of detail outside of that space. Especially showing you how to activate these 7 strengths that you have. So you're going to want to listen up and stay till the end, because I've got some really powerful tips that you can start to use immediately today. We're going to look at what thriving is, why it's important, and the 7 strengths or powers that you already have within you that are the key to activating your sense of thriving. So, we talk about thoughts and feelings, and it's common to think, ooh, I don't want to go there. Oh, what's underneath? I don't know. Who knows what I'll uncover? It's going to be super scary. When I talk to people, and I say what I do, sometimes that's the initial reaction. And so I just want to start out by saying there's nothing wrong with you, nothing that needs fixing. There's nothing too scary that you can't handle about yourself. You're already whole and complete. And it's just that you haven't yet seen the whole spectrum of what you are capable of doing and who you're capable of being. And just a side note is that your brain likes to stay the same. So it's going to say, no, don't do this, not today. And I just want to reiterate that I've been thinking about y'all so much. I spend a lot of time thinking about what will impact your everyday well-being the most and help you unearth your gifts and talents in a simple, easy, and doable way, so that that's not the first thing you think is that it's scary. It's actually can be fun, and it's motivating, and it's energizing. So I want to share my story with you. And that is, I guess, this hand over your heart is just that whole idea of that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you and nothing that needs fixing. So if you need to put your hand over your heart right now and just say, hey, I'm already whole and complete. There's really nothing more I need. It's just all about discovery and exploration. Please do that right now and just set the tone for this hour of discovery and exploration within yourself. Now, I want to share, this is me, 1986, y'all. And when I started out, before I found breath work, I was trying to force myself to sit in a quiet room and meditate without any guidance. Like, I can do this. And it did not work, y'all. I was one of those people that said meditation, it's not for me. I was also a very skeptical and distrustful person. I did not trust myself. And that's mainly because I didn't know my purpose in life. I didn't have the confidence to create a vision for myself. And I didn't know my value. I was basically in survival mode all the time. And it showed up physically. And usually, mainly, mostly, and yes, when it shows up physically, that's the most gross, like the densest that we are. Is so funny that those words gross and dense describe like the level of weight and density, but that's what it is. So the physical body is like, when it shows up there, it's already been through the mental and emotional. So I was always getting sinus infections, sore throats, earaches, and then I got cancer. So I was always labeled the sickly one as a child. And then I got cancer, and then it was like, well, stamped, for life. And that's when I was like, no, I'm not. I've got to change this. But at that time, I was always just trying to make it through, get through the day. I was always, people say, how are you doing? I'm working on it. With zero confidence that there was more for me, more for my life, more to live, or that I had something really beneficial to contribute. I didn't trust that the universe had my back, that there was grace all around me. And even if I wanted to believe it, I had no idea how to get that help because I was just so skeptical of everything. I didn't believe there was something more for me or a role that I had to fulfill, a bigger picture in this life. And now I know that is true for all of us. We're creative beings and we all have a bigger role to fulfill if we so choose to take that on. And I believe if you're here today that you are curious about that and you're ready for more. So I like to say that having cancer saved my life because it awakened me a desire in me to question what I knew to be true. I had to question the skepticism, question the doubt. And healing from cancer is what gave me the drive and commitment to discover my value, discover my purpose, explore the bigger meaning behind what I am here to do. So if you're like me and you've been skeptical, worried, doubtful, overwhelmed, uncertain of your next move, fearful, that is perfectly normal. It is part of being human. You're in the right place and you're going to be great and you're going to do great things. Even if you've done great things, there's always more greater that you can experience. That's what a creative being is and does, is this drive to this pull, this gravitational pull to thrive. So that's why I am so excited for you, and I'm overcome with the possibility for you, because you really are a pioneer of your mind. We understand the mind now in a completely different way than we did in the past. The study of brain plasticity has revolutionized our relationship with our brains. And so, in this masterclass, we're not going to get into the science of it. I really don't go into that. But I prefer and I enjoy the application and how to apply the practices that shape your brain and create the experience and grow those new grooves, that neuroplasticity, increase that. So let's go. I'm ready. Are you ready? So when you think of thriving, what is thriving to you? You can just drop it in the chat right now and just let me know what thriving is to you. It can be a sense of contentment or joyfulness. When you are thriving, what are you doing? How are you feeling? Energized, good, confident. What does it feel like in your body? What does that confidence feel like? Like it can feel like solidity or strength. And what are you doing when you're thriving? Like consistent exercise. Yes, thriving is light and free. Thriving is powerful, empowered and powerful. You could be going back to school after you retire. You could be speaking in front of a large audience. That just usually when we're thriving, we've got I won't get into it today, but what we identify as nervous energy really is, it's that aliveness inside us that's like ready to thrive. Thriving here in the chat, total acceptance and abundance. Yes. And so how is thriving different from, I have like different from now or where you are now? Maybe you are thriving, but you want more. And how is that pull, that gravitational pull toward that exploration of thriving showing up for you? How is that dream and that vision different from now? And that's a question, some of these questions are designed because our brain just wants to know all the questions and answer all the questions. And one of the things I love about these more contemplative questions is, like, they're better answered in journaling, maybe in a long form, but they come from a place of feeling. And sometimes that's a place beyond words. Yes, here it says thriving ain't possible with shame and guilt. Yeah, those are two things that just suck up all the oxygen in the room and take it all out. And so, yeah, you've got to have a way to shrink those down for sure. So my definition of thriving is feeling comfortable enough to step outside of your comfort zone and explore new experiences and still feel safe, like you can identify that you are safe and feel a sense of safety in your core, even though you've got this aliveness that we usually identify as nervous energy that's saying no, in your brain saying no, no, no. But hey, I'm good here. I can step into the unknown. I can be comfortable, and it can even feel scary. So I want to tell you a quick story about when I first started to thrive in my business. It was the first time that I stood up to speak in front of a room full of people. And I presented the story going from Jane the skeptic and distrusting survivor through cancer and healing from cancer, which is where I collected all the beliefs and tools that help me thrive today, even today. I could have never done it without using the unwinding compass to center and present myself before getting up to talk. I could never have done it if I didn't know how to create the level of comfort in my body that allowed me to be bold and brave and courageous so that I could thrive. I mean, even if oh, imagine you're about to step on stage and you get a text, or you see a comment that just makes you feel this shame or guilt. You have to be able to have a way to dissolve that immediately. It is possible. And so that's what this work does. And, I take this class today. I definitely wouldn't be teaching this masterclass today without all the wonderful things that I'll be sharing. The practices that I'm teaching you, I've used to get to where I am. The unwinding compass, I used it literally the 5 minutes before we got on this call. So these 7 powers that I have unearthed over time that I'm sharing with you today to help you get clear and present, feel comfortable in your body, calm your mind, shrink those thoughts to little whispers so that you can do what you came here to do and thrive doing it. That is the plan. So, number 1 is creativity. Do you think of yourself as a creative? My story, was that I was the person that would always say oh, I'm not creative because, and the funny thing is I've always been surrounded by, when I look back, it's like I look back in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I hung out with the artists during college, and I went to art gallery shows, but I was always like, oh, I'm not the creative here. I can't draw. So many more people are more creative than me. And then I actually am a writer and I love to write. It just took me years of unfolding this belief. And if you already know you're a creative, then that is bravo, because we're all creative. Because the definition of being a creative is if you are capable of an original thought, you are creative. So start there. And there's an element of flow in creativity. Ideas come, ideas come from a place outside of thinking. That's why dreams are so important, and writing down your dreams. And just thinking can be very rigid and very dry. That's where writer's block comes from. So just flow. That's why walking, breathing, meditating, tapping into flow, ideas can flow and begin to come. And so just remembering there's an element of flow, getting present and quieting the mind allows for this flow to happen. So I want to start out by explaining the unwinding compass to you so that you can start using it today. Like a compass, the unwinding compass has an N, an E, an S, and a W, but there's one more element. Now, in a lot of cultures, there are a lot of indigenous cultures. There's the 4 points, but there's also the middle, connects above and below. And that's why the belief system and the cosmology of the Maya that I studied, they see themselves as part of nature, within nature. That's because their perspective happens from the center of the compass. So this compass helps to train you to find your center of your world and your life and live from that center. So You notice, you explore, you savor, you wander, you return. This does not have to happen in this order, but it sure can. This order, you can go to my YouTube. I've got some unwinding compass meditations, and I'll be adding more throughout the next month. But they will take you through the compass and show you how I've used it, how many other people have used it to find that place of calm, and you guide your brain. That's what it really does, is it keeps your brain active and focused on what it needs to do. So the way we use it is, so the first time I'm going to show you, I'm not going to go around the whole circle, around the whole compass, because, and here's why, because you can use it any way you need to. It's part of the whole free will scenario. But usually when you start to notice your breath, the mind is taking up all of your real estate, all the space in your brain. When you are thinking, that's a wander. So you notice your breath. When your mind wanders into thinking and you notice it, you return. So what usually happens, and why people think they can't meditate, is the mind wanders into thinking. You're like, oh, I can't do this. I suck. Okay, on. But it's not the wander. It's the noticing. It's the awareness. That's what this whole thing is. You're training an awareness. So when your mind wanders and you're like, oh, there I am in thought again, I'm going to show myself some compassion, not judge it, and return to the breath. So for your creativity, mind blocks, while you're walking, doing a meditative walk to, a lot of people do that. It's very common when you're kind of stuck or you're doing a creative thing, just to walk and reset. Notice your breathing. And then when your mind wanders back into whatever's happening, just return to the breath. So do that right now. Put your feet on the floor and just notice your breathing. You're not trying to change or fix it. Just notice and just stay noticing your breath. Mind wanders, just return to the breath. Notice your breath. Now notice that my mind's wandered. I'm acknowledging, I'm returning to the breath. So that's a very simple way. Notice your breath. Mind's wandered, return to the breath. It's like return to the breath, return back to your body, back to your center. So the second power or strength that you already have is your adaptability. You are able to embrace change and adjust your behavior. Make a plan to slow down, think through it, and have a process. That's what we're doing today. But adaptability, you know how I told you I was a doubter and a skeptic. And those traits are often associated with having a lot of judgment. Just like the reason that it's hard to meditate or stay aware of one thing or stay focused on one thing is because of judgments that come up, these thoughts, these critical thoughts that say, oh, you're really not good at this, or you really need to go do this other thing right now. So the judgment really leads to how it shows up, these symptoms of perfectionism, getting stuck, staying stuck, like doing it, oh, I'm going to do it wrong, or I've done it wrong, or seeking approval, wanting to see how somebody else does it before you actually do it. So we're gonna really come up against a practice of this perfectionism in a few minutes with one of the exercises. So presence allows you to recognize the situations that cause you to feel stressed or overwhelmed. So we go back to the notice, right? Back to the compass. So you would say something in notice like, I am breathing in, I am breathing out. So just do that right now. As you inhale, say to yourself, I am breathing in. As you exhale, I am breathing out. And you can just repeat that. I am breathing in, I am breathing out. I breathe in, I arrive. I breathe out, I am home. And you just repeat saying that over and over until you notice you're thinking about the birds. And then you just bring it back to the breath and you start over again. No judgment, just pure flow. So the inquiry here is, what's a thought or belief that's been agitating you lately? What's got you stuck? What belief are you digging your heels in on? And don't take a lot of time with this. Just think about something that's been agitating you. What does it feel like in your body? And you can just say, like, how's this thought benefiting me? And then my favorite is, how's the opposite true? Like, example is like, oh, I believe the house we used to live in, it was just a better house. Like, it was in a better location and had a better driveway and, had more bathrooms. But when you're actually saying that and thinking about that, what's the feeling? It's usually some sort of tension, tightness, stopping the flow. How's the thought benefiting you from just saying, oh, pining for the old house? How's the opposite true? I believe the house we live in now is pretty awesome. That's a very basic example. Use your own. But really being able to say, how is the opposite true? And be able to hold both of these ideas in your awareness at the same time. This one, okay, that one was a great house. This one also pretty good house. And just observing just to take that time to observe your reaction to them and know, how is that benefiting me? And how is the opposite true is really just realizing that you can think 100 different ways about one thing. And that's how we become more adaptable and flexible, is just using this type of inquiry to explore what's going on with the thoughts and the feelings and how those thoughts aren't 100% rock solid, concrete thoughts. All right, resilience. Y'all, that's your bounce back ability. Okay, there's 3 types of thinking that really stop you from being resilient off the spot. One is past and future thinking. So any regrets you have, they're going to drag you back into the past, thinking about all the missteps and misalignments. And of course, a great thing to do is to see them as lessons. That is a process. That's not something you can just go like, how's that a lesson? It's a whole process, but just being able to recognize that you are in a regret state and what that feels like is huge, or that it's a habit to be in that regret state. And then the future is your fears. Your fears are what pull you into the future. And I'm just going to call out the news for making money off using fear to pull you into the future. Because and that's also tied into catastrophic thinking. So that's like a future-based fear. And so that's why practicing presence is so important, because you realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm like so worried about this thing that hasn't happened yet. And the possibility of it actually happening is very small. And I'm not talking about climate change here because that's happening. But instead of letting the fear of climate change and the way it's presented pull us into the future, when you're present, you can actually take action on what your purpose is around solving that problem. So the three types of thinking are that past future, and then the catastrophic thinking, which is also really tied into that future thinking, and then black and white thinking, like it's either this or that. And that's where that same question can come in. How's the opposite true? Or this is really where we want to engage each other, listen to both sides of the story, learn more about the people that we think their ideas just are out, off the charts. So the thing about these three types of thinking is they create a false sense of certainty. Like we feel certain about them, and it's a false sense of certainty. And what they end up doing is leading you into low energy cycles where you can't shake your tiredness, fatigue, you're getting sick easily, you're easily unmotivated, or you're procrastinating. So noticing your breath, being able to present yourself, that helps you recognize the intensity of emotions that you're feeling and that are hindering your ability to be resilient. So noticing your breath, mind wanders into catastrophe, return to your center, return to the breath, repeat, repeat, repeat until you can start to feel that calmness. All right, here's another thing that's going to really, it's a shortcut to being more resilient, and that is celebrating the small stuff. One way to easily establish resilience is to celebrate your wins. It can be something big like, woo, I passed the bar. But you got to acknowledge all the little wins along the way, or, the more that you acknowledge all the little bitty wins, that's what's going to motivate you to arrive at the big wins fully engaged and fully empowered. Without celebrating those small wins and you're just like focused on that one big thing, you're probably going to arrive there tired, fatigued, out of your mind. I mean, I'm just thinking of myself in college, finishing finals. I was just like, I don't care, just get me to the final. And then I was just a mess. So that's really what's important here. I I have here that I noticed I was holding my breath, my shoulders were wrapped around my ears. I mean, this is how, when we're just focused on that one thing, this is how we end up. We're just like, we're not breathing. I was talking to Chuck about this the other night. It's like you just get into thinking mode and you completely stop breathing, and your shoulders are up towards your ears, and then it just takes more time to let go, to release. And so by noticing, exploring, returning to your center, that's what leads to more space, more calm, even more noticing. Like then you really, oh my gosh, I just noticed, like I just completed this small step here. I just finished writing an email that I've been putting off. I mean, just it can be anything, and this, I have to say, this is the number one reason people that are working on their own without a coach easily lose motivation, because it's easy to discount those small steps and just focus on the big result. Because here's the thing, the brain doesn't want you to celebrate your wins because it's still worried about your survival. And that's the kind of thing we're working to outcreate. We want to outcreate that, what the brain does normally, in that just stays in survival mode so that you can thrive. So write down one win, or put in the chat, or write down and put in the chat one small win that you've already had today. Just put it in the chat. I'd love to see one small win. And it's so hard to go from like all the big to-dos we have to do, that's a process as well to go, okay, what is that one small thing I did? Like maybe you woke up and meditated for 5 minutes, but you didn't count that as a win because you didn't meditate 15 or 20. You wanted to meditate 30, but you slept late. That happens to us all. So you get to count when you remembered to do anything. It could be breathing. Like, okay, yes, joined this Zoom. Hey, thank you. And I totally get that. You are showing up for yourself by being curious and exploring what's going on here today. And that is exactly right. It can be, I showed up at this Zoom, I meditated for 2.5 minutes. I wrote out one gratitude because it was in the crossword, and I remember to do that. Shit, my list is long. Awesome. All right. So the next one, the fourth, is wholeness. The sense of embodied wholeness, certainty, grounded in the body. You're feeling your sensation, your aliveness, like we talked about earlier. You're receiving information from your body without trying to change or fix it, attuning to your sensory awareness. So with my one-on-one clients, we do breath work. Like, we just did a breath work the other night. And it's an ancient breathing pattern that works as a shortcut to get your mind to stop thinking so you can really feel your body, feel what's going on. I mean, so often in this class, when I do the breath work, people are like, that's amazing. You're amazing. And it's like, it's not me, it's you. And that's what I want to say to the people that do breath work and think it's me, something I did to them. That is 100% you. And this process helps you own that about yourself. And I just have to say this, Western culture from the Middle Ages has a history of psychologically separating the mind from the body. There's a big story, I'll post about it sometime. So we tend to think in our heads and are cut off from the rest of our bodies. And that's why we don't feel embodied. That's why we don't feel that sense of wholeness. When we do focus our awareness on that wholeness, we feel it and we become more certain and we become more confident in our bodies. So breath work is another way, just like that practice that we did above, of noticing I am breathing in, I am breathing out. This aligns the mind and the body. That's what breath work does. It aligns your mind and body. But breath work is just a much more powerful way to be in a more meditative state and get to a meditative state faster, to show you that it is absolutely possible for you and you might even enjoy it, right? So let's do a little practice here. I call slow. Soften, lengthen, open, widen. So you can use any area of your body to do this. It just helps you to feel more embodied immediately. So you can like soften. You can just put your feet on the floor right now, put your hands in your lap, and just gently close your eyes and turn your attention inward, right? So soften the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands. And then lengthen your tailbone down to the floor and just lengthen the spine all the way up like it's going out the top of your head. You can drop your chin slightly down so that you can just get that, like your spine is just coming right out or the top of your head. Open. Now drop the shoulders back, open wide across the collarbones. Widen the tongue and the floor of the mouth. Widen the corners of the eyes. Widen the forehead. And now just savor these sensations. So slow is part of explore on the compass. So you can notice your breathing and then explore by softening, lengthening, opening, widening, and then savoring the sensations that are here. Savoring by noticing any tightness, spaciousness you feel. Something feels soft. Maybe something else feels hard, or the chest feels more open. Or maybe you've been sick and the lungs feel a little closed. Your neck might feel clenched. What's flowing? Can you feel that flow of blood or that pulsation and aliveness? So this is what we savor. So savoring is noticing it, feeling, and just taking that in, that information. Not through the thinking brain, but through the feeling space. And this, I like to say, welcome to your body. I mean, it's a really amazing place. So just let that go, shake that off. And we're going to now go into purpose. So you've activated creative ideas, adapted to your surroundings, built your resilience, felt into your wholeness, and now it's time to discover your purpose. And this is where you get to challenge against your judgment and perfectionism, because this is going to go real quick. You can spend more time on it later, but your personal vision statement is what guides your decisions. It's your map. So making a choice is easier with a personal vision because all of your choices will serve that vision. So if you're up for playing, just like letting it be messy, this is not, when you write this down, it's not like you're carving it in stone. You can change it anytime. But this is just an exercise for you to get an idea down on paper that you've had or been thinking about, or maybe it's buried a little and you have to dig it up, that inspires you, energizes you, helps you feel motivated and hopeful. And I want to remind you, it's just a rough draft. So you can choose one of these ideas or pick your own. And here's the other thing is that, so think of something important that you've wanted to achieve or experience, but you want to pick a amount of time, a doable amount of time. So pick either 6 months or a 12-month period. Just think about, in the next 6 months, this is what I want, I envision for myself that I want to achieve or accomplish, or a year, a 12-month period. It could be a trip you want to take with your partner and all the planning that needs to happen. Or a new career you want to change or start. Or you want to carve out more quiet time, alone time, free time. So I envision this next year that I'm a successful entrepreneur building my community. I see myself in the next year designing and planning a backyard meditation studio. Or within the coming year, I dream of traveling to Peru with my partner. Or another one that didn't get on the slide is I aspire to. I aspire to become a certified meditation teacher. So don't spend too much time here, but just, if you can, drop your statement in the chat if you like, get some acknowledgement on it, and get that to start growing. And as you write it, notice how you feel as you read it back to yourself. Because your purpose is your blueprint. It's your blueprint upon which all your subsequent decisions for your future are made. So, this is where you get to notice that you're really procrastinating on this one thing. Like I did plan a trip to Peru this year, and I realized in the planning of it that I prefer to just go on trips. Like I don't want to be the one doing all of the intricate details of planning because I'm very nervous that I'm going to forget a step. And when you're in a foreign country and you've forgotten a step, that's pretty that can be pretty intense. So I was able to notice on what areas that I was procrastinating, putting off, not motivated in planning this trip. And it helped me to make the decision that next time I'm planning a big trip, that I'm hiring a travel agent. And if I wouldn't have used this kind of envisioning plan, then I would still be saying like, oh, next time I go on a trip, I'd be complaining, right, about having to plan a long trip. But because I used this, I now just know I've made the decision that that's not my strong suit. Okay, so your next one is compassion. And we're going to start with self-compassion, because treating yourself with kindness and understanding leads to you being able to show it to others. When you show yourself compassion, I mean, you don't have to be compassionate toward others. You're automatically showing others how to treat themselves and how to treat you. So the unwinding compass is a way to do that. Extend noticing your breathing to noticing your thoughts, especially when your mind wanders into self-criticism. Notice your mind wanders into thinking, your mind wanders into self-criticism, self-judgment. To use the compass, returning to the breath, and then noticing the breath, exploring, like, okay, I just had that self-criticism and my shoulders got really tense. My back got really tight. My neck is now clenched. So you soften, lengthen, open, widen, savor those feelings, return to your center, and that's how you're more easily going to recognize the self-criticism, those thoughts. And once you recognize those thoughts, then you can take those steps to replace them with the thoughts you want to be thinking, right? So just on a physical level, the heart skips a beat every time we show judgment or criticism. And I'll just share a quick story here. Around the same time I was diagnosed with cancer, I was diagnosed with an irregular heartbeat that the doctors began to monitor. My heartbeat became more stable when I started my healing practices, when I started practicing meditation, visualizations and envisioning, breath work, and tuning into my own body rhythms, using soften, lengthen, open, widen, and savor those feelings. And then, so kindness practices, these are so important to incorporate. Breathing with a hand over your heart, like when we started, just like breathing in, I breathe in peace. I breathe out support. You can draw in peace. And then as you exhale, like you can imagine support spreading through your body. So we can just do that right now. Breathe in. I notice I am breathing in peace. I am breathing out support and just letting support run down the arms, down the legs, really in the solar plexus. The gratitude list, feeling thankful, can improve sleep, mood, and depression. And if you're forcing gratitude or feeling guilty because you don't feel grateful, that's a sign that you need to practice this slow, soften, lengthen, open, widen, practice the compass. Your defenses are up And you need practices first. When you start to soften the body, you soften the mind, and then that can allow your heart to open and gratitude to come in, which I'm just going to push the breath work here as well, because that's a shortcut. That's what the breath work does. It helps release endorphins, soften the heart, soften, and help you remember what you're grateful for. And then the last of the Thrive powers is grace. Like gravity that we also can't see, grace connects us. Gravity connects us to the earth, allows us to feel stable in our body. So that's what we use gravity. We thank gravity. We employ gravity because gravity is what allows us to release and let go. Grace is this ever-present sense of kindness, beauty, strength, acceptance, and stillness, and it's available for us to tap into in any moment. And so I'm not going to say a lot about grace because it's a personal experience. It's not something that you can intellectualize. But Annie Lamott has a real good quote here. And that is, I do not at all understand the mystery of grace, only that it meets us where we are, but doesn't leave us where we found us. And there's another mystery that we're tapping into here, and that's of noticing your breath, catching your mind when it wanders, returning to your breath and to your center with kindness, and repeating that process again and again, experiencing the stillness, the peace, the grace, growing the grace. That's how you grow it. And so I just want to recap all of these strengths are already here in you. The power is in your capacity for awareness, your capacity to notice. Notice your breathing. You can be in line at the grocery store, at a stoplight. That's a small celebration. Oh my God, I just noticed. I still do that. Like, you never get tired of being grateful and excited that you just noticed you weren't breathing, or you remembered in the grocery store line to do that instead of doom scroll, right? So notice your breathing, notice what you're feeling. Just notice those thoughts, notice the self-criticism, notice when shame, like the more you can notice this, like I had an incident last year where shame just like almost like put me in a plastic bag. And when you've been working with noticing and grace and exploring, I was literally able to go like, not today, get back in my power. There were people around me that were like, wait a second, but I still feel shame. And I'm like, well, you'll have to work on that because that's the way shame travels. Shame travels person to person, and it's looking for somewhere to land. So, connect the dots between what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And when you're thinking, when there's judgment, criticism, you're identifying with old patterns, things you heard growing up, things you've been telling yourself for years, things other people wanted you to believe that made you feel shame. Your mind has wandered. It's wandered into a space that is no longer safe for you. Maybe there was a time where you needed to carry that shame because it was like just what you had to do at the moment. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that anymore. That space is no longer safe. It's not helpful for you. And just the simple act of recognizing these thoughts, recognizing these feelings and old beliefs, that's a huge cause for celebration. So pat yourself on the back with a little compassion. And then that's when you can start to take action on those old beliefs, because what they want us to do is say there's a problem here and just focus on that old belief and how you can like somehow slay it with a machete in the jungle. And that's just never going to happen. You have to take action on those old beliefs by doing something other than, by bringing in this gratitude, bringing in this compassion, remembering your purposeful statement, choosing the thoughts and the feelings that you want to feel. You get to choose new beliefs based on that purposeful statement and integrating them into your vocabulary, these new words that they start to form that new thought and that new belief, and replace all the old tired thoughts that are telling you you can't do that, you can't be that, you're too old to start doing that, you have never done that before, you're not an expert, whatever it is, and you do that by noticing, recognizing that you've wandered into that old zone, recognizing that icky way that you feel or that old tired loop in your head. Stay persistent, stay alert, be inspired by what you're noticing about yourself and your growth. And you're going to inspire others along the way. They're going to want to know what Kool-Aid you're drinking, because whatever it is making you shine. And here's why it works. It works because I like to throw a little bit of science in there, not too much, but brain plasticity. You're able to form new connections and they become stronger when repeated. That's the return. Return to the breath, return to your center, return. Unused pathways weaken. So which ones are you going to choose to weaken and which ones are you going to choose to strengthen? Learning to become more aware of the thoughts and feelings. I'm just going to repeat this again because you can't repeat it enough, or it can't be repeated enough. Learning to become more aware of thoughts and feelings, experiencing new sensations in your body and noticing those experiences, making choices that align with your purpose, strengthening neural pathways that support more positive and adaptive behaviors, and reversing negative thinking patterns. Your mind and your body can do amazing things. You have this sense of greatness. And here's the thing, you are the future of greater well-being on this planet. Just because you are here on this call, you're curious, you've shown up for the breath work, you've shown up for your creativity, you've shown up for yourself. You are a leader in living well on this planet, an empowered thinker. Living the life you envision is something that you just keep doing. When you thrive, everyone around you thrives, and you are contributing to the upliftment of the whole planet. It's affecting the quality of your sleep. It affects how you show up for your day, the mood you're in, the impact you make, and the choices that you make. And it gives you agency and personal authority. So put in the chat, what is the thought you go about yourself that gets you spinning in a low energy cycle? I mean, if you can just identify one right now that you can start working on today, and by working on, I mean just noticing it and saying, like, what if the opposite were true? What would the opposite be? And just playing with that, holding both of those thoughts and deciding what they both feel like. And then from there, choosing the one that works best for you. Like it could be something like, oh, I should be more grateful, or I don't have enough money. Nothing's working right now. It's never going to happen. I screwed up. I'm a loser. I can't do this. I can't meditate. Just take that thought. Notice how it feels in your body. Doubt to succeed at creative goals. Okay. Yeah. And so it's like, how is the opposite true? I bet if you look around or you take a couple of minutes and notice your breath, you can actually, and you have to give yourself permission to make that list of how that is not true, of creative goals that you have done. Even if it's not a project that's been completed, it's a project that's been started. Where are you in those steps? Start celebrating those steps now And that's your motivation for taking that next step. So a low energy cycle, getting in these cycles, it's not a problem. Our brain's like, I have a problem. I'm in this cycle. I have all this doubt. There's another one, right? Something's wrong with me. It needs fixed. Nothing's wrong with me. I have more to give, more to learn. Exactly. To do that with more grace and selflessness. That is exactly what I'm talking about. And so think about those thoughts and just know right now that all of those thoughts and being in that low energy cycle, that's not the problem. It's not a problem. That's what we do. We're human. We get into these cycles because it's the old norm that we're used to. And we're just retraining our brain, growing new neural pathways. It makes us, and here's the thing, the reason we do those low energy cycles is because they make us feel safe, because that's what we've done. So just know that nothing's wrong with you. You're just ready to create new pathways and make new changes. Our job is to remind the brain that we are safe and just get back into that high energy cycle of thriving. So that's what you do with the compass. You've got your vision, you've got your compass, you return, you remind your brain that you're safe, you get back on that high energy cycle. I don't want you to get off of this call, this training, and be afraid of losing this. It's just what happens. Your mind wanders into negative thinking. You bring it back to your breath. That's it. It's not a problem. But I will also tell you, though, for those of you thinking like, wow, this is amazing. I have a way to notice my thoughts and feelings. I have a map to guide me to choose the thoughts and feelings that align with my purpose. I have a way to be more adaptable and resilient. I'm supported by compassion and grace, and I need this in my daily life. Yes, yes. If that sounds like you, I want to share a story with you, but first, I want to show you this. This is a past client of mine, a very good friend of mine, and this is, people often ask me, what are the results other people are having? How do you know it will work for me? And here's one of my examples. Jill Bryan, creativity coach deluxe master. She's using the unwinding compass to help her get grounded and centered so that she can have all of her power in one place in her body, not scattered to the wind with all the crazy thoughts and worries. And so it works, it's working, it's repeated, it's something that's fun and enjoyable to do. Give yourself grace. The other day, I was talking with a woman who I worked with, who works with me, and she was like, remember when we started working together and I was steeped in thinking about the past and feeling all these regrets from my childhood? I mean, she actually used the word steeped, like she was soaking in worry and regret. And she said, I was stuck in this constant low energy cycle. I didn't know why I couldn't get a date. I didn't know why my kids avoided me. And then she told me, she said, I remember the moment we were working together. It was after breath work. She said, I felt this calm in the center of my body. It changed everything. She said, I let go of my regrets because I knew I could trust myself and I could feel safe and I could feel supported in my body. She had gotten very serious, very depressed. She had forgotten how to play and have fun. But when she felt that calm core, she started to remember that she loved to play on the swing set as a kid. And when she invited her teenage kids to go to the park with her to swing, and help remember what that feels like to actually be on a swing, they went with her, and she was so surprised. And then she started dating and she found her confidence back. And so that's what happens when you get coaching on a regular basis and you have someone helping you get into high energy cycles without having to constantly do it on your own. And that's why in my one-on-one coaching, we have a coaching session each week. And then we also have a breathwork meditation journaling session where you get to experience the breathwork and meditation with my unwinding compass. And as a bonus, you also get a weekly meditation for you that I record during the session so that you can use it during the week. We're creating new grooves in the brain, new neural pathways of possibility in the breath work and the meditation session, and it's got journaling. So you're really integrating both sides of your brain. So think of it as having one session for your body and another for your mind. So every week I'm walking you through every step of the way. I used to just have the coaching call, and then every once in a while we would do a body thing. But here's what I've found. When you get on that coaching call, like, your brain wants to talk and wants to try to figure everything out. And I just said, you know what? That's okay. Brain likes to think. My brain likes to think. I totally get it. We're just going to have a whole 50 minutes where the brain is figuring out as much as it can, and just know that there's a place, the brain can only go so far, and then it kind of drops off. I don't know, there was the movie, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was a kid animated Pixar movie with all the emotions, and then there was like that cliff, and then they drop off. Like, the thinking mind cannot go past that feely sensation cliff that you need and want to experience. It's almost like space, right? It's like space. So you can schedule this call with me right now, your free discovery call, where I take you through a simple process. You tell me where you're now, where you want to be, and what you envision for yourself 6 months from now. And in our hour together, you'll have a clear idea of what your problem is and discover what's been blocking you from moving forward. It's a really great discovery experience to have, and you leave with a clear strategy for moving forward that you can use for goal setting and envisioning. So I really do encourage you to schedule this call today, because every second you wait, you're not giving yourself the gift of having help doing this. I coach people all the time, and I've seen people take this strategy and work it on their own. And that's great. Work on it any way you can. But I've also seen that, because the brain is just looking for problems, it's easy to lose motivation, to give up. And then, maybe they'll pick it up in a few months or so, but they never really experience the momentum that gets them to the result they want, like people that are working on this weekly, getting the motivation, the accountability, that's all built in. And I make it fun, interesting, inviting. We keep the energy up and keep you moving towards your goals, toward the purpose, and keep that strategy in our mind's eye. The value of the coach is that in the same amount of time that someone's doing it on their own versus getting help from a coach, you have more consistent success, growth, and change. You'll go farther, faster, and have more fun. And that's also why it's important to not wait and to do it now, because this is long-term goal stuff. This is you as a pioneer of your mind, the first generation. Think about it. We're the first generation to take advantage of this neuroplasticity in the brain and use it for good. Use it to help others, just by living your purpose, you're helping everyone around you, everyone that sees and talks to you, because you're living from a heart-centered place, and that alone inspires others to do the same. And so that's why now is so important. I don't want you to look back on your life with regret, thinking like, oh, I wish I had done that. Just doing day-to-day stuff, checking off the list. Someday I'll get to that. When you get off this call, if you haven't made a decision to schedule your discovery session, you'll get back into your day-to-day, and it won't seem as important and as essential as it does right now. So I want you to consider that this is one of the most important conversations that you'll ever have in your life, because it's about changing the trajectory of your life. And did you ever see that movie, that Gwyneth Paltrow movie, Sliding Doors? That's what it reminds me of, where that one decision she made to step on that elevator was the decision that affected all of her subsequent decisions. And that's the level of decision making that's happening right now. It's going to determine the choices that you make in your life going forward. And it's very exciting to know that that kind of change, that kind of fast track change, is available. So, okay, let's schedule a discovery session sometime. Excellent. Let's do it. Here's the thing is, well, I'll tell you that there should be an email when we get off this call where you can schedule one, if my technology is working. But we'll definitely get together on that. So just check in with yourself right now. What would it feel like to start the new year off with a strategy and hope and enthusiasm for what's to come? Instead of hoping that things will turn out for the best. Like, I hope for a long time, I think before we really understood neuroplasticity, I was like, oh, law of attraction. If I just think it, it's going to happen. Well, now we know, boots on the ground, digging in, that's how it gets done, taking action on it. So I just want to share this slide with you where you can, there's an email that you can email me to schedule your discovery call. But you should have an email coming if you are on this call. And then I guess we're moving on to this slide, which is all my social medias. And this QR code will sign you up on my email list. So if you're not on my email list, you can use that code to get on my email list. I'm really on Instagram a lot, and most everything you can access from the link in my bio. So I want to leave you with this: the gift of calm, centered stillness within you that's already got everything you need is in that return in the center of the compass, in the center of you. It's creative, adaptable, and resilient. It's got purpose. And when we live embodied, attuned to feeling and sensation and our own aliveness, we're more compassionate, more tuned into grace. And then we can lift up ourselves and lift up the planet and thrive. Thrive, y'all. That's what it's all about. So if there are any questions, you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat. That is all I have for you. I just want to thank you so much for joining me, reminding you that you are awesomely made. You're an amazing human. And I want to acknowledge and commend you for your curiosity, your willingness to explore and discover more about yourself and what you're capable of in this lifetime. So just, if you're live, you should have an email in your inbox inviting you to schedule a free discovery call today. And if you are watching the replay, use the QR code, go to the link in my bio on Instagram, and you can schedule your call with me that way. I wish you a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.